Welcome to the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall. Today, joined by my co-host, the wild, wonderful Hailee Piendl, who's back, and we are here to help you function at your best in health, fitness, and life. Let's get fired up.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so happy to be back. There was like 2 episodes that I listened to. I was like, "Oh, I'm not in this." Not that I like listening to my own voice. I hate it, but
Did you listen to the last episode yet? I know you're a busy lady with my
I
niece.
haven't yet. I am very excited too.
She's such a sweetheart. She did such an awesome job. If you guys haven't listened to it, go back and listen to the previous episode. This is my proud auntie moment. But for now, I am like super pumped to hear about your Mexico trip. So, Hailee, what did you
Oh
do?
my
How
gosh.
was it?
Well,
Tell us all the things.
if you can't hear it in my voice, I got sick afterwards. So that was
Oh
awesome. Yeah.
no,
Justin got me sick. Yeah. He was, well,
cute.
I don't even know
You
like what it
blame
would
him
have been better.
immediately.
Yeah, because he got sick on the trip, and I was like, get over your man cold." And because I thought he was just stressed because he just quit his job. That was quite a stressful thing in his life. And I was like, oh yeah, you're probably just coming down, and then your cortisol levels are coming down. You're just feeling like really tired. And then I got sick, and I was like, oh, actually it's not a man cold, but it's a true cold. Anyways, my trip was fabulous, very relaxing. My HRV was so good. So good. I slept like 9 hours. I think that's exactly what I needed. But in terms of excursions, we swam with dolphins. We went to see the sea lions. It was really fun. He's never done that. So that was like my parents' Christmas gift to us. So we got some nice pictures that I need to post soon. Otherwise, I just read my book and plopped my butt on the beach and in the sunshine. I didn't get tanned. I come back from every single vacation and everyone's like, "Where's your tan?" I tried. I genuinely tried. Like I apparently I'll be thankful for this later in life. But yeah, no, I didn't get tanned. It was just nice. I didn't get burned either though. So, yeah. But it
Okay,
was a great
well,
time.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
well, I'm glad you had a good time. And yes, I feel like it's one of those things. It's like, I think there's so much truth to what you said, your body coming down off of stress. Like, yes, there's like the true cold aspect, but I think, when you're in a high stress scenario for a long period of time, then that lag time, once you actually
mhm.
relax, I think it's so common. This
Yeah.
happens with John a lot too. He's like, I don't understand. I'm sick every time we take a holiday or a long weekend.
Yeah.
Like every time, almost every time we close the clinic. And I'm like, well, you don't actually rest on our regular schedule. Like, so now that you are, your body's like trying to catch up.
Yeah, it was the exact same thing, except I caught it, which sucks. So,
Oh,
mind you, like
jeez.
everyone and their dog is sick right now. So, I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah, there is a lot of people. I completely agree with that. Oh
Yeah.
dear. Well, here's the
How?
deal. I think on
Yeah.
a regular basis, one way that we can help our immune systems along the way is with the amount of food we're eating. Now, this is my segue into our episode that is about if you are either under eating or overeating. We're going to kind of get into a few different topics. I think I want to like preface it though with we have a lot of other episodes that we address both sides of the spectrum where it's like you're under eating and your overall body weight is low, like your body fat percentage is very low because you Hailee in specific have many clients who are coming out of eating disorders. This is not going to be the focus for this episode. It's more, we're going to focus more on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like if you are trying to lose body fat, if you are in a fat loss phase, so you're overweight in not the sense of like you have enough muscle mass, you're under muscled at this point. This is what this episode's about. If you're under muscled and your body fat percentage is higher than is good for your health. So this is the focus of our episode today. What I want to start with then, because I think what is very confusing for people's brains is that you can be under eating. You can have a high body fat percentage and essentially be overweight, but you can still be under eating, which seems weird. Do you agree that that's hard for a lot of people to comprehend or like
Absolutely.
accept? I don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many layers to it too, but continue.
There yeah, there is a lot of layers. So this is why it's actually quite a difficult topic, I think. And there's many ways that we can look at it. But if you're eating less, okay, so if all it took was just eat less and then you're gonna shed fat, then I feel like that would work for everyone, but it doesn't seem to work for everyone. So I think most women, if you're listening to this episode or you had a friend who shared it with you, or this is a topic of conversation that you've had, and you're listening and you're like, okay, I'm not at my weight goal, which we've talked about this too. We don't love the term weight because that's looking at your whole composition. But if you haven't hit your fat loss goals, let's refer to it as that. Why is what you're doing right now not working? If you're thinking, well, I've just been eating less. If you're eating less than your teenager and still not losing, then you need to do something different. So if your caloric intake is 1,200 to 1,400 calories, like under 1,500 calories, and you're doing tons of cardio and you're not seeing results, why could that be the case?
Absolutely. And like one thing that I do want to point out, like thermodynamics exists. And so I think that a lot of people can like blame, oh, I'm not losing fat or I'm not losing weight because I'm in starvation mode. But like if you're in starvation mode, like you will also be losing weight, maybe not in the most ideal sense, but like you need a calorie deficit.
Yes.
No ifs, ands, or buts. We need a calorie deficit to lose mass, right? And then it goes into like, what is your macro breakdown? Are you tracking your food or do you just feel like you're eating less? And like you're not actually eating less? Are the like condiments you're putting on your food adding up? Like you need to have the whole picture rather than just like generically being, oh, I'm not losing fat, therefore I am like in
There's something
starvation
wrong
mode
with
or
me
there's something
or
wrong with
whatever.
me or something. Like yeah, get all your data together. So like if you're in that situation right now, I highly recommend just like take a week. You don't have to be obsessive with it, but take a week to very honestly track your food. See where your numbers are at. Are you truly at 1,200 calories? And if not, then like, where are you at? Right. And then another thing that I see too is like people will be, oh, I'm in a calorie deficit, but I'm not losing fat or I'm not losing weight. But they struggle with the like, oh, during the week I'm great. I eat clean. And then on the weekends, I just like throw it all, I don't track and I just go out to eat. And then you kind of offset. So your body runs on averages, not necessarily what you do on the daily basis. It's more so like what your weekly average looks like. So if you're really over consuming on food and you're going out and you're drinking a bunch and all this stuff, and then like that averages out your maintenance for the week, then you're not going to be in a calorie deficit. So again, where is your weak link? That is the first question that you need to ask yourself. And so if you are under eating during the week, say you are eating 1,200 calories and you're struggling with like the binging on the weekends, we need to bring your calories up to a point where you're not feeling really deprived, because there's going to be a tipping point. And what I see very consistently, and I've seen this with myself as well with like the yo-yo dieting, is you can be super motivated at the start and you're like, yeah, 1,200, I feel great on 1,200 calories. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then a couple weeks go in, maybe 3 weeks, and you feel really drained, you feel really tired, and you're like, what the heck is the point of this? And then you maybe binge or overeat and the cycle continues. You feel guilty. So when you bring it up, so your fat loss macros aren't as like, they're not as hard and it doesn't feel as hard, that's where the magic happens, where you can kind of easily, very like gradually lose fat. But everyone, again, like they love to like go balls to the wall and like, I'm gonna hit hard, I'm gonna do it really fast, and I'm gonna undercut my calories because less is more, which it's not, because then it perpetuates you into that cycle of undereating, overeating. So that's something that I consistently see. And then in terms of like the quote unquote starvation mode, so your metabolism is not here to get you your summer body. It's here to make you survive. And that's the only thing that it cares about. So it doesn't like automatically switch into, okay, we're going to go get our summer body bikini mode. It down regulates. So the less you eat, the less you will likely move. So there's the components of your metabolism. So neat is essentially like how much you're fidgeting, how much you're moving throughout the day, taking out the garbage. That naturally goes down when you are in a calorie deficit, as it's a way of your body conserving energy for more important processes, like keeping your organs functioning and all of that stuff. So it can down regulate. And then, so like your maintenance is now lower. So if you're eating like say 14, 1500 calories, truthfully, your metabolism is going to down regulate to kind of reflect that. And so now you are no longer in a calorie deficit and you're going to maintain on 14 to 1500 calories, which freaking sucks. So
Right.
yeah. So, in which case, like if you are at that point, I definitely recommend like doing a reverse diet or reversing your calories back up. One of my clients is currently in that sort of stage where we got to a point of her fat loss where she had lost like 10 pounds of fat. Her body composition looks really good, but she still has some more progress that she wants to make. However, her body was having that resistance of like lower energy. She was getting a bit of migraine, so there was some hormonal disruption. So that's kind of our cue of being like, okay, let's reverse into the holidays as well. So we've just consistently been reversing her macros up slowly so her body can adapt to it. So she maintains the progress she's already made, but her metabolism is recovering and she is having more energy. Her hormones are restoring again. And so then you can kind of attack the next fat loss phase from a better angle than you did the first time, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. The phases is really speaks to the long-term gain or game, sorry, the long-term game of it, right? Like that there's going to be those phases where you have to lay it out in a certain way that makes sense for how your metabolism and your hormonal regulation and all of that. So I think those are really good points to bring up. I also wanted to add in the thought process so that you're thinking about this of what are your goals in your life. So I love that you brought up, okay, your client has a specific goal that they're hoping for. And you also brought up like the summer body. Okay, so is that realistic to you? And it could be, but I want you to think about also what is your height? Okay, because that's going to play a role with your overall body weight. I also want you to think about what are your life demands before you start getting into an arbitrary weight that you have in your mind. Like if you're like, oh, I just want to be 120 pounds. Okay, well, how tall are you? Because 120 pounds at 5'1" looks a lot different than 120 pounds at 5'11", right? So I think that's something that I don't know why, but I feel like it gets forgotten about, but it's a very important detail. And the other part is, what are you doing for your work? And I'm going to bring up a personal story for this because for years we've talked about this with the ranges of body fat percentage, right? If we're like healthy female body, what is, off the top of my head is like 21% to 28 or something like that.
Seven-ish. Yeah, 27, 28.
27. Yeah, that is a range. Okay. I used to sit probably more like 21% or even lower at points. And then now I'm closer, more like in the upper end of that range. I'm still in a healthy range, but I'm a little bit to the higher end than the lower end. And so my overall body weight is higher than it was. That being said, I've also put on a lot of muscle mass. Just a little ego trip. All my strength gains in the gym are just like exploding right now. By the way, I'm
Heck
almost
yeah.
back to like full weights that I was doing like when I was on the world gymnastics team, like the
Oh my
national gymnastics.
gosh. Go Emily. Woo woo.
I know, but my body size is physically bigger. So, what all that to say, I have been back in our chiropractic clinic way more shifts lately, and we have quite a large patient volume. And when I started being out of the clinic more, like postpartum, doing more with Frexy jackets and coaching and different things outside the clinic, a lot of my mindset was like, I can't physically do this job anymore. It is totally messing up my own body. And I go to adjust like a bigger man, specifically if I had to do a side posture adjustment, which is a little bit more involved and I have to put my full body weight into it, it would blow back through my own back. And I'd like chronically be coming home with like my own sciatic pain, and John would have to like fix me up. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. But I was sitting at a lot less muscle mass on my body, overall less weight. I'm going in there now at a higher body weight, more muscle mass. And I'm just like, this is totally fine. Like I feel great at the end of an adjusting day. And
Mhm.
I kind of had to prove it to myself. I was like, oh, I thought I was going to be hosed for the rest of my career. And so I'm saying that because clearly the demands of that, like being a chiropractor as a career, if you're doing manually adjusting, you need to have some level of muscle mass and body weight. And it's okay to have a bit of body fat as well. Now, when you're applying that to yourself, it's asking yourself, well, if you don't have a physical job like I do, and you are sitting at your desk all day, that's going to look a lot different. What was the word that you said? Sorry, it instantly went out of my mind. That like added up amount of movement throughout your day and stuff.
Neat.
Where neat. Thank you.
Non
Yes, I just
Yeah,
non. Go ahead. Acronym
non-exercise
for
activity thermogenesis.
yes, yes. So all of that plays a role in like each person's is different depending on what else they're doing in their day, other than just when they're in the gym, right, or whatever.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think
Yeah.
you
So
bring up a really good point too of like career, because I think like I spoke to on like, oh, you're super excited. It's been 2 weeks that you're on your fat loss phase, but sometimes when you're in a really stressful maybe you have a really stressful job, maybe you're moving, maybe you just went through a divorce or a breakup or something like that, like know your limits, stay within it. Like, is that a great time to do a fat loss phase? Because fat loss and like weight loss is quite a large stressor on your body. So embarking on something like that when your like regular day to day is already quite stressful, like is that a realistic expectation for you to put on yourself, right? Because like you mentioned, you're so much more adaptable to your stressors now at a higher body weight, higher body fat percentage, which again, like also something that I wish I would have known is everyone has different like frame sizes too. And so my frame size is like medium, maybe a little bit larger. So my weight will also be larger, even though I'm short. That's one thing that I wish like all short people will know, because like I feel like a lot of women are like, oh, I'm 5'2", so that means I have to be like 110 pounds. But some people have different frame sizes, different bone masses, density structures that are going to make your range a little higher than someone else's. So that is
yes,
something that I wish I knew more of earlier.
that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. And you can kind of see it in like, do you naturally sit a little more like compact, stocky,
Yeah.
powerful type of look? Like you and I are both like that. Versus you, there are people who are like a true petite, right? Where you're like,
Mhm.
you are just a tiny person, and
Your
it's good,
bone
and that's
structure is
okay.
little. Yeah.
Yes, totally. No, that makes a lot of sense. I'm glad you brought that up. The other thing I was thinking with this is because you did bring up a little bit about temperature and how I think it's really important to view our bodies more like a thermostat than a calculator. So, like
Mhm.
some of the signs, even just if your metabolism is not happy, like if your metabolism is downshifted, some of the signs that you will see in yourself is like, are you always cold? Is your energy low? You did bring that up as well, but just to reiterate, is your energy low? Do you have brain fog? So, regardless of what your body fat percentage currently is, whether it's low or too high, I think these signs will remain similar. Low energy, fog. What's another one? More like crazy cravings, right? By like mid afternoon, it'll affect your sleep, and if it ends up you'll end up waking up more at night, more consistently. And then obviously we've talked a lot about the whole like can be worsening of your PMS symptoms, irregular cycles, no period, all of that can go with being chronically calorically restricted. And then if workouts feel harder but you're not getting leaner, those are some of the ones that come to mind for me, but I think those are signs too. Like obviously, yes, you can do the tracking like you said, Hailee, like actually track what you're putting in your body, but then pay attention to your signs, because if you've picked an arbitrary weight goal, and you're like, "Sweet, I reached it," but now you're like chronically cold and low energy and you have all these cravings, then maybe that's not quite the right range for you. Would you agree with that, or do you have anything to add or
Oh,
say
yeah.
differently?
Oh my gosh, yes. I definitely got to like what I thought was my goal weight, and like I wanted to look this is so embarrassing but so true. I wanted to look like those mannequins in like Sport Check that were like lean, mean, like
Oh,
kind of thinner. And I got to that point and I didn't have a period. I would like, I couldn't focus on anything other than food, my body, or exercise. Brain fog was terrible. I could not sleep without any kind of like sleep medication. Like
wow.
it was absolutely terrible. So at that point, you one thing that I would love for everyone to do is get to your goal only to realize that that is not where your happiness is. That is not where like your like best version of yourself is, because I thought that arbitrary number would have been. And then you get there to realize that, wow, this is literally just an arbitrary number. And you kind of get let down because your expectation was that I was going to feel like the best ever. And I was going to feel the most confident because I looked the best, but I was not confident whatsoever. I would like cover my body up, even though everyone's like, oh my gosh, you were like the epitome of health. I'm like, no, don't look at me. Compared to
Right.
now where I do
Yeah.
have more body fat, I do have more body fat. And I'm like, yeah, let's like, I feel good. I feel healthy because I know that my body is functioning properly. I have a regular cycle. I'm an actual, and I'm not like kind of faking it. That's kind of what I felt like when everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, you're the epitome of health." I'm like, I'm actually really not healthy. So, yeah, don't take advice from me. But
I
yeah,
totally
I
have felt
wish.
like that before too. Sorry, I just was like,
So
I want to affirm you. Like, I've totally felt like that before too, Haley.
yeah,
Not now,
yeah.
but I
So
have. Mhm.
yeah,
It makes
exactly.
so
That like cognitive dissonance of like, oh, I'm actually, yeah, you don't actually know what's going on with me. So I appreciate it, but please don't comment on my body.
right.
I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, that was a
I'm
fun
sorry,
story.
I interrupted you. I just got excited. Woo!
That's okay. Yeah, no, we're
Because
relating. So
it's so relatable, and I feel like it's so important to bring up. And if you think about it, when you get to the size that you're thinking, or whatever the look that you're thinking, if your metabolism and your hormonal cycles are totally messed up in the process of you doing it, it's like your phone battery's on low power mode. Like when your phone hasn't been plugged in and it goes into low power mode, this is like you eating very little for a very long time and overworking your body to the point where it's like you're on low power mode, your phone still runs, but everything slows down. Whereas in the different phases where you're like, okay, now it's time to implement a reverse diet, let's just say that, then it's like safely plugging your phone back in, and now you can turn off low power mode and start to rebuild, like kind of start to recharge your battery. And you will have times where things are growing and changing. So, for example, if you are eating a good range of caloric intake with a good macro split for you, then you might not see your overall body weight change. If you are implementing a sustainable amount of exercise and strength training at the same time, you're hitting a good range for your macros, you're gonna start to lose body fat, but you're also gonna start to gain muscle. So you might not see as extreme in the drop of your overall body weight, but you're going to start to, those signs and symptoms are going to start to get lessened, and you're going to feel better. We've said this so many times, where obviously so much of the feedback comes with your monthly cycle that is telling you how your body's doing. But in addition to that, your sleep quality, guys, I can't say this enough times. I sleep so flipping well now. Like I literally wake up before my alarm most mornings. And that is such a huge sign. And before my alarm is like 5 o'clock in the morning, guys. Like my alarm goes off at 5:15, 5:30. And I'm waking up like, oh, I feel amazing. And that's with going to bed probably around 9:30. Just as like a
yeah,
side note. Like that's a huge feedback for how you're doing with, are you eating enough? Is your metabolism doing well?
absolutely.
And
And
it,
like to your kind of analogy of like the phone battery, because I feel like where a lot of women get stuck in this process is like, oh, if I eat more, then I'm going to gain fat. But if I'm already uncomfortable in my body, why would I eat more? Where it's like your phone doesn't like gain weight while you're charging it. So it's the same sort of thing with your metabolism where it's going to start to upregulate. And like I routinely see with like my clients that are in that sort of mindset of like, oh my gosh, Hailee, don't give me more calories. Some of my clients like actually freak out. They're like, are you on crack? Cause like this, I'm not, there's no way I'm eating 2000 calories. I'm like, girl, come on. But anyways, they do get over that hump and it's more so like having that hand holding through that process, because we have that belief just kind of ingrained in us throughout the years of diet culture that women need to eat less than men, or women need to eat less because you're smaller human beings. But we do kind of have a different sort of stress system too, so we don't really adapt to calorie deficits as well as men do. So that's also a little bit of a side note. But getting over that hump of, oh, eating more does not equal that I'm going to gain fat. Like, you can, like you mentioned, Emily, gain muscle in the process. And again, I routinely see that the composition of my clients' bodies becomes a lot better, regardless if they've like lost weight or if they're at the same weight. And you can see that through progress pictures. So I will like hound this home that progress pictures are so much better than the scale. So it's just like one singular thing that you see. And it's just what your bone mass is, the water in your body, your muscle mass, your fat mass, your organs. That's the only thing that you're seeing. So progress pictures or measurements as well can be a lot better of an indicator of your progress aesthetically, on top of the things that you mentioned of like your body actually coming out of this like low energy availability state. So if you are on a more like aesthetic goal journey, like take progress pictures over your weight. You can like measure your weight if you're okay with that mentally and it doesn't like ruin your day. If it does ruin your day, frick the scale, get it out of your house. But it
Yeah.
is just a data point. So like measurements and progress pictures, much better storytelling than the weight on the scale.
Yes, I agree. I also think if you have subscribed to the weightlifting, actually strength training side of things throughout this journey, that's another great way to give yourself positive reinforcement when you're making strength gains in the gym. I love that. I'm just like, this crap works. You know, we're getting strong. So, and I know that's not everyone's goal, but if you haven't tried it and you're feeling stuck on your journey and you're like wanting to get excited about something, I think it's exciting. Do you find that? Like when you're like,
Absolutely.
yes, I hit a new,
Absolutely.
oh,
And
I
like,
love
I
that.
don't think anyone wants to feel weak or feeble, like whether that be mentally or physically. Like, no one wants that. So like I think that the best thing that you can do, and routinely I see this as well, of like just being in the space of disordered eating and people with passive disordered eating, you feel really weak and feeble. And like one of the best things that comes out of that is like strength training and falling in love with like just building your body and getting stronger and more muscular. And like I can carry all of my groceries in one go. Like men's stuff
That's
aside, I can do it. I love when they do it for me, but I can do it if I want.
yeah,
You know?
totally. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. So on the
Yeah.
opposite side of this is you could also be overeating. And Haley, you already touched on the point of you might be yo-yoing where you're like
Mhm.
overeating on the weekends is really common, undereating during the week. But then maybe you're like also overstressed during the week. So there's a combination
Mhm.
of back and forth there and it adds up over time. So let's talk a little bit about the body signals for overeating. I'll bring up some of them and then you can add in like what you think I missed. But it would be feeling stuffed instead of satisfied after a meal. If you're getting a lot of bloating, gas, or heartburn after you eat, that could be a sign that you're overeating. If you're feeling like heavy, sleepy, or like you're like in a food coma after you've eaten, if you, when you start eating, you're not really hungry, you're just like, I'm just going to eat anyways. That could be you overeating throughout a day or over time. If you push yourself past the feeling of comfortable fullness, and there's two common reasons for this. Either you're like, oh, I just really love this food, or you underate the day before and now you're just like, oh my goodness, like give me more food. Or you're rushing and you're eating so fast that you don't notice that you're full until it's too late. So those are two really common ones. That would just be like physically eating. Then there's the emotional pattern side where you're just stressed or bored or upset, so you're eating mindlessly to numb. Or you could be doing this by grazing all evening with no clear stop point. And you might be doing it right into the late hours of the night, like right before bed, which is not going to be great for your metabolism and your sleep patterns. And the other one is if you feel guilty or ashamed after you've eaten a big meal, that might be an indication that you're like overeating or you're you're using it as an emotional crutch. If you are doing or feeling these patterns on a regular basis, especially over long term, some of the long term trends that you'll see with that are overall body weight gain, or weight, you kind of get the creeping waistline, or your waistline always feels bloated. And then just the same as under eating, you can also regularly have low energy with overeating and stuffing yourself all the time. But that will often come with like the afternoon crashes after a bigger meal. Did you have any
Yeah.
ones that I didn't touch on that come to mind for you, Hailee?
Not necessarily. I think those are really good, like intuitive signs of like, okay, am I overeating? One thing that I will say, because my clientele is like on the opposite end of like that, and it's necessary for sometimes people to go to that point of feeling stuffed or bloated, because when you undereat for an extended period of time, your stomach also essentially shrinks and it adapts. So like even
Right.
immediate or like a moderate amount of food can feel like you're overeating, where like that is a necessary part of doing that. However, again, like going to the end of the spectrum of like you're overweight and you are truly overeating, one thing that I like to teach and like just make sure that everyone knows how to decipher hunger, or if you're getting full. So, like you mentioned, you're eating really fast and you can't really decide if you are approaching fullness. So everyone talks about like, oh, eat till you're 80% full, but then it's like, what the heck is 80%? So the
Right.
pattern of how that works, when you're eating, so obviously mindfully eating relatively, chewing your food is a really big thing with bloating too. So if you find that you bloat, make sure that you are chewing your food. That will also slow you down. But what you'll start to find is you start to like your mind starts to track off, where it's like, oh, this is a weird fork, it's really small, or oh, I gotta, after lunch, I gotta send this email. Like you'll stop thinking about food and your brain will start to trickle off. So that is the first sign that you're starting to approach that 80% fullness. And then
Mhm.
you'll start to find like, okay, if I left my food on my plate, like I'll be fine for a few hours after. Like I'll have energy. I don't feel the compulsion to finish off all of my plate. So it'll start mentally and then end physically. And it's the same thing for hunger. So when you start to feel hungry, you're going to start to think about it more. That's the first thing. And then you're going to start to feel it in your body. Maybe you're low energy. Maybe you get a headache. Maybe your stomach starts to grumble. Not the only sign of hunger physically is your stomach grumbling. It could be feeling empty again, or like lower energy, imbalanced blood sugar levels, like feeling a little bit dizzy, things like that. So that is like the next step of hunger. First step is mental, which I don't like. If you are trying to like lose weight or lose fat, there is going to be some degree of hunger that you have to quote unquote deal with, because you are in a calorie deficit. So don't just like start to eat the moment you think about food, right? Wait till you start to feel a bit of the physicalness. And then same thing goes for when you're feeling satiated. Like start to notice your mental. Okay, I kind of can like leave my food here, and then leave the food on your plate when you start to notice that you're physically okay. I'm okay with the amount of food that I ate, and then move on. This is a skill that you develop over years and years of practice. This is not something that like happens overnight, because again, food can also be emotional, and it releases dopamine. So there's some like addictive patterns that people can have towards it, especially if you have like stress, or you stress eat or emotionally eat. So essentially, that's the pattern that you want to look for and start to practice so you can get better at it, and noticing when you're full or when you're hungry. And if you master that, you'll find that your body can settle into a body fat percentage, a body composition that is healthy for you without you trying to manipulate it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I think ultimately the summary of that is after a meal, feeling comfortably full, feeling energized, and able to move on with your day. That would be a good indication that you're doing a pretty good job, versus if you finish feeling totally stuffed, sleepy, and beating yourself up about whatever you ate or eating too much. Like maybe you overdid it, right? But I
Yeah.
like that you bring that up about if you are coming out of being in a calorie deficit and under eating for a long period of time, that at first you're going to start to feel those full signs sooner. And over time, your body will heal and start to regulate that more.
Mhm.
That's what I.
Yeah,
Did
exactly. So
I
it's one of those
summarize it?
yeah, it's one of those annoying things of like it's not a cookie cutter, it's not a one size fits all. Like you do have to be a bit of a self advocate in knowing which category you fit into, and I feel like people know which category they fit into. So like depending on where you're at on which end of the spectrum, know which approach is going to be best for you and then what to expect with that approach essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that comes down a lot to ownership and holding yourself accountable. Because I think if you are on the spectrum, the end of the spectrum where you've been overeating chronically and you are at an unhealthy fat percentage level, like you are truly over what you should be for your health and your quality of life, and you're not implementing any of these things, I think there's an aspect of maybe you've been lying to yourself. Maybe you haven't been
Mhm.
holding yourself accountable or taking ownership for those actions. And I think that can be a really common thing on that end of the spectrum. Do you think so?
Absolutely. And yeah, and I'm going to be a bit controversial here with the whole like, oh, health at every size. I think that's BS, where it's like if you are going to just kind of allow yourself to not live at your full potential, I hate that we promote that. So if you're, and that's not to say that like your BMI can't be higher because I'm nearly overweight. So it's not like, oh, your BMI is higher, so you need to lose weight just because of this number says so. But like if you are truly like overweight for your body and you're seeing and feeling all of the symptoms that you mentioned earlier in the podcast of like low energy, all of these other things, disruptions in your hormonal cycle, you need to be very self-aware and brutally honest and don't lie at like what the point you're at just because it's easier to say, oh, I just accept this. So like again, be brutally honest and like, can you do better, can you be better to feel better, because it is going to improve the quality of your life.
Yes. And if you're looking at longevity, right? Because
Yeah.
eventually, what does that turn into? It turns into, oh, I'm pre-diabetic. Now I'm type 2
Yeah.
diabetic. Now I have these different, I know there's types of cancers that can be more of anomalies, but there are ones that are lifestyle based that build up over years of time. And then you end up in a situation where you're like, oh, crap, I should have started doing something about this sooner. And that's what we're trying to
Exactly.
help you with. It's not a guilt or shaming thing. It's more of like a, hey, if you're on the verge and you're feeling like you're not able to do this, we're here telling you like, yes, this can be the step. Like, let this be part of the step where if you've been in that pre-contemplation contemplation mode, it's like, no, you need to just start doing something, start dealing with it now. It's gonna be a hard journey, but it will be worth it, and you're gonna feel so much better for it later on. So that's more of just the
Exactly.
encouragement. It really
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. We're usually our worst critics. We get inside of our own our own heads and then get in our own ways. So, like, if you are listening to this thinking, like, oh crap, I got to do something, then this is like your sign to take messy action forward, too. Like, don't think that you need to have it all figured out. Like, you don't need to listen to a million and one podcast. Listen to one, apply the main message from it, and then master that, move on to the next. Like, it doesn't have to look super perfect for you to start.
I agree. Did you want to get into any more details on the reverse dieting side of things? Do you think that that's a good time to do that? Or did you have another
Yeah,
thought?
absolutely. So in terms of like reverse dieting, the approach that I take with my clients is you don't always have to track macros like at all. Like some of my clients, they use macros as a tool and then the rest is intuitive eating just to see like, okay, on average, where are my numbers sitting? And so I like to be a little bit more lenient with reverse dieting and like only hit your calories and your protein because those are the only things that kind of really matter. All the other stuff is just noise that you don't really need to pay attention to, especially when you're coming out of a deficit and you're eating more, your body will just function better. But in terms of how we approach it, typically every week or 2 weeks, I'll increase it maybe 50 to 100 calories, depending on how my client's body is responding. If their hunger cues are increasing naturally pretty rapidly, then I'll do more of like the weekly increments. And then if their body is like, okay, my weight is staying stable, then again, we'll increment again. So it's really dependent on the person. However, just to give you an overarching like principle, track how your body is responding to the changes that you're making and make them small incremental changes. So typically I will increase like carbs and fats. Protein will usually stay the same just to keep things easy. You don't really want to go above like maybe a gram per pound of body weight, because then it gets kind of eccentric. So carbs and fats is what you want to increase. And again, just like make sure that you are paying attention to how your body is responding to the changes that you're making, but don't make them super drastic. Because again, to your point of the thermostat, we want to make sure that we're slowly coming up, not just like, ooh, we're just going to bump it up 500 calories and your body has no idea what the heck to do with these extra nutrients, right? And then it'll be stored as fat. So to mitigate that, you want to have those small incremental changes.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, you made me think of something else controversial to bring up. Since we're just
Okay.
going to have a controversial episode. It's as you were saying this, I was like, I feel like there's a lot of women who are like, perimenopause. I'm almost hitting menopause. I'm not trying to discount. I mean, I'm not, neither of us are there yet. So what I don't want to do is just offend every like perimenopausal, menopausal woman out there. But I hear a lot of people say this, even just coming through the clinic. They'll say like these off comments that I'm like, I feel like a lot of this is actually that you're under eating or you need to strength train some. Then I'm like, but it's all getting blamed on menopausal being menopausal. Is that too controversial?
Yes. No, I think that too, like our needs shift minimally. It's not anything like drastic because I do have clients that are postmenopausal, perimenopause as well. And like the change from their program comparatively to like my own being a reproductive woman's like cycling is quite small.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I
Because I
think that can
think
be
if
a
you've
bit of a
had,
cop out sometimes. Yeah.
yes, because if you've had a bunch of like unhealthy cycles the whole time, then I think that translates into worse menopausal experience versus if
Yeah,
you get your like hormones and metabolism healthy. I truly believe that your experience with perimenopause and menopause will be also healthier, like will be go smooth
absolutely.
for you.
Absolutely. Like I had a postmenopausal client and she came to me like with all of these habits, like wasn't eating breakfast, wasn't doing this, all that. Like there's usually everything is figure outable. There's a reason why things aren't working, right? And so we started having a high protein breakfast. We were eating regularly throughout the day, eating enough food. We reversed out and then went into a sustainable cut, not like drastically, bringing down calories to like 1,000 calories. And she managed to lose, I think it was like 3% body fat. Her weight didn't change though, but her body composition definitely did because again, she like improved her strength, increased muscle mass. So her body fat percentage did come down. But yeah, it wasn't anything like it wasn't like a weird little hack for only perimenopause or menopausal women. Like it's pretty basic stuff, simple scales, complex fails, pretty routinely.
Yeah. But I think that's a
Yeah.
huge common misconception where it's all of a sudden you're in this like hyper complicated category and nothing that worked before applies. And I'm like, I really don't buy that.
Yeah.
Unless someone
Yeah.
like unless some sort of research drastically comes out to change the opinion on that, I feel like what you said makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
the reason for bringing that up too is more just like to remember that no matter what age or stage you're at, you just said it. It's probably figure outable. That's what you said.
Everything is figure outable.
I love that. And we want that for you. We want to help you through the process because I feel like it's totally possible to feel great. Maybe not every day, but more of the time than you are right now, most likely, if you have sought out this podcast. Anything
Exactly.
else to wrap us up today, Haley?
No, I think we nailed it as always,
Oh,
obviously.
it's so great to have you back. You did
Oh, it's
awesome.
so great to be back. So great to be back. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for being here, everyone. Just like share this episode with a friend. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, and now's your opportunity. And what else do I usually say? Haley, leave us
Be
a
free,
review
feel fresh, and live on fire.
on fire.